How's it going, Twitch? My name is Skull, and on behalf of Soft, welcome to today's live stream. So today, I am playing a game called If My Heart Had Wings, and the reason I'm playing this is to help promote the fact that this game is getting a physical release on the Nintendo Switch through Play Asia, and pre-orders will be opening up very soon. So if you want the chance to own this game physically, make sure you head over to Play Asia and pre-order it as soon as pre-orders go live. So as usual, I know nothing about this game going into it. I am completely blind, so let's get into it. Pretty obvious it's a visual novel, but that's about all I know about it so far. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Yeah, definitely a visual novel. Kind of obvious from that. There we go. Alright. Let's go ahead and configure. Yeah. Okay, so, typical VN. Let's just go ahead and get started. Let it play itself. Maybe I should move my webcam up here. Maybe that would be a good place for it. We'll see. I'll move my webcam around as is needed. I always thought road bicycle racing was one of the hardest sports around. Hill climbs are the worst. While putting strain on every muscle in your body, you had to continue pedaling without stopping to climb a steep hill. During those times, I always thought, I can't do this anymore. I'll make this race my last. Even though I had that thought every time, in the end, I still took part in the next race. I trained so hard just to be able to endure those grueling hill climbs without stopping. Why did I do it? Because once I finished the hill climb, there would be a reward waiting for me. Good start. Nothing compared to that feeling of cutting through the wind as I raced down the hill at blistering speed. In those moments, I always felt an incredible rush. And in that rush, I was able to forget about everything. The pain of the hill climb, the strain on of every muscle of my body, and the days of hard practice. It wasn't a matter of winning or losing. I just did it for the rush. That's why I rode. That's how it should have been. I was young and thought I was invincible. That was when the unimaginable happened. Suddenly, without warning, something was taken from me. I could also use the word closed or even lost. However, to express the emotion I felt at that time, taken would be the word that fit best. So there was one thing that I learned. Life isn't all about having fun. I gained a lesson in life. The thing I lost was everything. I let myself get depressed about this, but I should have thought about it a little more. If something could be taken from me so abruptly, then something could be given to me as well. The wind blew. A gentle but strong wind. It wouldn't be unreasonable to see it as a sort of encounter. What this could be the start of, there's no way for me to know. That's a transition. That's a cool transition. Yep, I'm playing the Nintendo Switch. The turbines turned. People got overwhelmed by how enormous they are. Their unnatural silhouettes serve a function, But to those who don't know what that is, it would appear to be something very bizarre. And with how they were all lined up, they seemed even more overwhelming. But I wondered why. The side of the white turbines lined up, the green hills somehow seemed so picturesque. This is amazing. So they make things like this these days. At the very least, 5 years ago, there was nothing here but an open field. I heard they were going to build a large-scale natural energy research facility. The cell phone in my pocket vibrated to tell me I had received a text. It's from Tatsuya. To Aoi. Did you arrive already? Sorry I couldn't come to meet you. My name is read as Aoi, but the way it's written in kanji, it's often mistakenly read as Midori. Either way, both Aoi and Midori sounded like girls' names, which always caused me problems. I replied to him. I hardly ever texted, so I found the keypad awkward to use. I got here a little too early, so I'm just going for a stroll. The turbines are amazing. Okay, send. The reply came quickly. They're great, right? It's the new famous spot in Kazagara. Anyway, if you have any problems, contact me anytime. Tatsuya. Thank you, Tatsuya. As I sent the text, I sat down on the grass. This place is on the hillside, so from there, I was able to gaze at the lake and the town that stretches across the opposite bank. The rapid redevelopment of the town of Kazagara had old buildings intermingled with modern architecture. The view expressed both the past and the future at the same time. Ooh, paper airplane. Something white flitted across my field of vision. For a moment, it looked like one of the turbine blades had come flying off, but there was no way that could happen. A paper airplane? I got up and headed down the slope to look for it. The paper airplane, gliding gently, eventually lost its momentum and descended. Gotcha! I ran ahead, leaped, and caught it in midair. Where did this come flying from? Judging by the direction, it had come from the top of the hill. At a time and place like this, could there have been someone here besides me? I took the paper airplane with me and climbed up the slope. I managed to get to the top. A gust of wind blew the paper airplane out of my hand. Ah! Hey, wait! I ran further up the slope to catch the paper airplane. I can't read that. But I assume that is if my heart had wings, the logo. Then, just as I finally caught it, ah, it's a girl. Oh, she's in a wheelchair. There was someone on top of the hill. It was a girl, sitting in a wheelchair. She looked fleetingly into the distant sky as the breeze blew through her hair. Against the background of the blue sky and turbines that spread across my view, the girl's black hair and white blouse looked striking. It was as if I was looking at a completed work of art. The girl noticed me. At first, I thought I should make an excuse for why I was there. It made me start to feel guilty because I had stepped into her area without her permission. She didn't say anything. Perhaps she was being cautious. To show her the reason why I'd come here, I showed her the paper airplane. Did you throw this? The moment she saw it, her facial expression stiffened. She looked like she was about to cry. I could see tears forming in the corners of her eyes. Huh? What? The tears started to flow. As I watched, great big tears came rolling down her cheeks. Huh? Hey. I rushed to her side. What's wrong? Are you hurt somewhere? As she shook her head, she held my hand, which I had unconsciously held out to her. Her hand was small and trembling. She gently squeezed my hand. It's okay now. I didn't even know what the situation was. As I answered, I squeezed her hand back. Ah, ouch! Before I knew it, there was some sort of chicken at my feet that started pecking at me. Okay, that's a chicken with a little top hat. Ow, that hurts! What is this thing? Hattie, as it was called, calmed down at her command. Is it a duck? With its yellow beak and white feathers, what I thought was a chicken was obviously a duck. For some reason, it was wearing a hat. Oh. Never thought I would be this surprised to be attacked by an animal. Thanks to that, though, it looked like she had stopped crying. Is a hand towel okay? I don't carry a handkerchief around with me. As I said that, and without waiting for her to reply, I took a hand towel out of my bag. Of course, it had been washed, so it was clean. Why were you crying? Are you hurt somewhere? As she answered, she pointed to one of the wheels of her wheelchair. From what I could tell, it had gone flat. You got a flat tire? That was a terrible thing to hear. Just a mere flat tire for her was like having her legs taken away. Don't you have a cell phone? She sounded discouraged. I should turn down the music a little bit. There we go. That's better. SOS? Oh, this? I opened up the paper airplane that I still had in my hand. I'm in trouble. Someone send help. I'm at Windmill Hill. She started crying out of relief that someone was here to help her. She seemed fine now, but it must have been terrifying being helpless. Hold on a minute. I rustled through my bag. When she saw the tools I had taken out, she seemed confused. Would it be okay for you to get off for a moment? I'm going to fix it. You can't go anywhere if you have a flat tire, can you? Of course, getting out of the wheelchair wasn't easy for her. What should I do? from the methods I'd seen on TV, the care workers hold them from the front. We both looked as though we'd imagined that situation and froze. Excuse me for a moment. As I put my arms around her sides to her back, I lifted her up. Wow, she's light. Because she was much lighter than I expected, there was a bit too much momentum. Here you are! Before she could grasp the situation, I put her down on the soft grass. I'll have it done soon, so hold tight for a bit. Oh, I'm surprised we actually got to see what he looks like. I guess they're the same as bike tires. I immediately started on the repairs. Since I had my back to her, I couldn't see the expression, but I had a feeling she was looking at me with contempt. As I was working, the duck was waddling around me and pecking at the soil. Is this duck your pet? Housemates? Are ducks able to recognize their own names? This one responded to his own name. Hey, he's pretty smart. As I looked at the duck, I saw her legs laid out on the grass. I guess she can't move them. There are several reasons why people need to use a wheelchair, but it looked like she had a disability in her legs. When I picked her up just now, her body stiffened up with surprise, but there was no strength at all in her legs. The duck returned from his excursion. While walking around her, he would occasionally try to jump onto her lap. She pleaded as she pushed him down. As I watched this from the corner of my eye, I continued repairing the tire. Not really. I just happen to be carrying them around. As she said that, she stretched her arms. I just realized you can't see the guy's face because my webcam's right there. Sorry, guys. Yeah, it is. The wind blows through here. 5 years ago, there were no turbines, though. I just came back to this town. She looked away into the far distance. Yeah. She suddenly looked down and seemed sad. There was an awkward silence as I continued working. The duck twisted its neck to look up at the sky. The girl looked up as well. What's wrong? There was something floating in the air. It was crossing the lake and gradually getting closer. It looks like a drone to me. At first I thought it was a paper airplane that she had thrown coming back to us. But it wasn't. It couldn't have been. It crossed the lake and eventually reached above the small hill where we were. An airplane? It wasn't paper, it was a real plane. But what was up with it? The silhouette was much thinner than any plane I knew, and the wings were long.
グライダーよ。
A glider? I repeated the name to confirm what it was and looked up to the sky again. The silhouette of the large white wings reminded me of a seagull.
ほら見て、旋回してる。綺麗ね。
The thing that I guessed was a glider continued to go in circles above our heads. It's flying pretty slowly.
当然よ。水力がないんだもの。
It looked like it was floating rather than flying in the sky.
あんな風に飛ぶんだ。
I bet it'd feel nice up there.
降りてきた。
The glider seemed to have given up rising and started to head for the hill we were at. It didn't seem like it was going to land, though. It was just reducing its altitude. Why don't we try waving? They might notice us. She raised her hand toward the sky and started to wave at the aircraft.
わわ。
Quack. I didn't know if the pilot noticed us or not. However, the gleaming light which reflected off the wings looked as if it were answering to us. Then, the glider turned its back on us and flew back to the other side of the lake where it had come from.
ちょっと。
She mumbled sadly as she lowered her hand. Extend the little wings which fly in the sky highly. I fixed the flat tire and followed her into town. We got to the residential area, located on the opposite side of the lake where Windmill Hill is.
ここでいいわ。
Are you sure? I can take you home.
うん、いい。
I was going to ask again, but I stopped. Just because I was nice to her didn't mean she didn't want a stranger like me to know where she lived.
ありがとう。おかげで助かったわ。
Don't mention it. If your tire ever goes flat again, call me anytime. I said it as a joke, but she started blushing and looked down.
わ。あのね、ありがとう。
Hmm? She already thanked me.
ちょっとだけ楽しかった。友達と遊ぶみたいで。
Yeah, I feel the same. And I was able to see something I usually don't. The glider that we had just seen was now flying above us.
私も本物を見たの初めて。素敵な思い出ができちゃった。
She murmured quietly and giggled. Her cute smile matched her lovely appearance.
それじゃあもう行くわね。
Okay, take care.
ええ。
The wheels squeaked as she pushed the wheelchair along with her hands down an empty street. Behind her, the duck wearing a hat waddled along with her. Hey! She stopped her hands and turned to face me. See you again. Her expression seemed pained. She left without saying anything. She sure was cute. I wondered where she was from. Her appearance was quite elegant, as if she were the daughter of a rich family. A little lady with a duck? It was an odd combination, but it seemed like a good match. Okay, I'd better go. I had to make my way to the Flying Fish Manor dormitory. Due to certain circumstances, that was going to be my new home. While walking along the gently sloping street, I looked up at the clouds moving above. Floating so freely like that, they reminded me of the glider. That distinctive silhouette had left a mysterious impression on me. I finally found it. Ugh. Is this it? Flying Fish Manor. The name doesn't match the appearance at all. It was like giving a tough-looking Japanese mastiff a name like Lily. At least call it Mansion de Flying Fish or something. Ugh, no wonder I couldn't find this place. I had completely ruled out this place and ended up walking around in circles. I couldn't believe this was it. Flying Fish Manor. There's no doubt about it. Even so, I'm still not entirely convinced. Actually, I was very familiar with this place. When we were kids, we used to call this spooky-looking mansion the Witch's Mansion. To test how brave we were, we'd often sneak into the yard. We just thought it was some rich guy's house, but never expected it to be a dormitory. Kaifu Academy Student Dormitory. I can't just stand here in shock. Okay, now I'm ready. I took a deep breath and stood up straight. Hello?
あら？お客さん？
Whoa! I had entered the dormitory with a stern face, but with the sudden appearance of a lightly dressed girl, that was gone.
どちら様ですか？
Why? She was the one who should be worried about being seen, but why was I the one feeling the pressure?
訪問販売はお断りしてます。どうしたのかなちゃん？ん？なんかお客さんみたい。お客さん？男の人？
Another girl, wearing clothes, looked at me and let out a shriek. The glasses she wore looked like they were about to slip off.
かなちゃん、ふく。ん？どうしたの？
Another girl appeared.
あ、ゆかさん。知らない男の子がかなちゃんの裸を。なんですって？
Yeah, this is going well. Huh? What? Huh? No, that's not true. Like some sort of miracle, my cell phone began to ring. It was a call from my mom. Sorry, just a minute. I quickly answered the call to escape outside. Mom!
そろそろ飛び予想について落ち着いてる頃だと思って。どんな感じ？
The place is full of girls! And one of them was in her underwear.
当たり前じゃない。だってそこ。
Huh? I triple-checked the sign again and noticed there was some small text written in the corner. Girls' dormitory. This is the girls' dormitory?!
あら、言ってなかったかしら？
Did you do this on purpose? What is this? What kind of mother are you? I'm going to be the house mother here for... I'm going to be the house mother here from now on, aren't I?
大丈夫よ。オーナーさんも寮生の方たちも了解してくれてるから。
They were just screaming at the top of their lungs!
あら、間違えて更衣室入っちゃった？
Typical mom. She totally did this on purpose for the fun of it. The front door opened slightly, and the girls from before were peeking through.
どう？さなちゃん。まだいます。
I tried to talk to them, but they pulled their faces back inside the house and shut the door. Can't say I blame them. What am I supposed to do about this? Well, this is the situation I'm stuck with.
ほうほう。じゃああなたが新しい寮母さんなんだ。
While I was explaining the situation, the boarding students, apart from the girl who was lightly dressed, surrounded me but kept their distance. This won't work, right? A guy being the house mother of a girl's dormitory?
いいんじゃないの?
The other girls hiding behind her seemed to agree.
誰か来てくれないともっと困るから。
そうなのよね。でももっと年配の人だとばかり思ってて。
はい。
There was another girl in the crowd. She was about my age and she looked frightened.
じー。
Oh, what is it?
葵くんって言ったっけ？年はいくつ？
I'm still a student. From tomorrow, I'll be attending Kaifu Academy. I'll be in the second year class.
へえ。じゃあ年下なんだ。似合う。
What was that grin on her face? The person who came to speak to all of you is my mother, and, well, she kind of tricked me into accepting the job as house mother. My mom had a job related to real estate, and her company managed the property.
ですって。どうしますゆかさん？チェンジします？
そういう事情なら。
Once the person who seemed oldest said so, the others accepted it. This is just until the owner-caretaker comes back or we find someone else. I apologize for the inconvenience, but for the time being, let's all try to get along. Once it was settled, everyone had started to go back to their room.
いやー、なんかごめんね。みんなおぼこい娘さんたちのもんで、若い男を前にして舞い上がっちゃってんのよ。私はしぐれかな子。なんかあったら私に言ってちょうだい。管理人さんの部屋は1階の廊下の突き当たりよ。
Thank you very much. Was that all of the boarding students? The girl who was lightly dressed was Kanako. Also, there was Yuka, who was tall, and the oldest, Shanae, with the glasses, and the frightened one was Ryoko. That's 4 people altogether.
ああ、もう一人いるんだけど、いわゆる引きこもりというやつで。
Is it the girl in the wheelchair?
そのうち出てくるんじゃないかな。
I see. That meant there were 5 in total. Only 5 people in such a big building? Mom did say there were quite a few vacancies. It was old and a little far from the school, so maybe it wasn't that popular.
汗かいちゃったから、もう一回お風呂入ってこよっと。
Anyway, I called my mom to let her know everything was settled. So in the end, we somehow worked things out.
あ、それはよかったわ。言っておくけど、陽の子に手出しちゃダメよ。
Oh, what are you talking about, Mom?
まあ、問題にならない程度ならいいけど。あ、それから、前に言ったと思うけど、一人足の不自由な子がいるから。
Suddenly, the sound of flapping wings came from down the hallway. Then, a shrill voice sounded out.
待ちなさい、ハット。ぐわー。
A big white object came flying down the hallway and from behind at breakneck speed. Was the girl in the wheelchair.
待て、このバカアヒル。私のパンツ返しなさい。わっわっわー。
Well, that's embarrassing. The big white thing, which seemed like a duck, flapped its wings and flew behind me. The girl in the wheelchair drifted past me and continued to chase the duck. I was so overwhelmed that I became speechless.
捕まえたわよ、ハット。
The girl in the wheelchair caught the duck and snatched away a small piece of cloth from its beak.
まったくあんたはいたずらばっかりして。今度やったら 北京ダックにしてやるんだから。
The girl put the duck on her knee and scolded him. I'd seen this before. However, she's nothing like the girl I met earlier in the day. In the daytime, she seemed more dainty and delicate. However, her appearance was still the same. It was rare to meet a girl this beautiful. Looks like your tire's in good condition.
Huh?
She finally realized that there was a guy standing there.
もしもし葵、聞いてるの？
Yeah, what was it?
足が不自由な子がいるから面倒見てあげてねって話よ。
Sure, I got it. Talk to you soon, Mom. I replied back and ended the call.
どうしてあなたがここに。
She got as far as saying that, but then noticed that what she had in her hand and started to hide it.
なんでここにいるの？新しい寮母さんだよ、小鳥ちゃん。
Kanako, who was taking a bath, poked her head out.
はい？何よそれ、聞いてないんですけど。いようにも小鳥ちゃん、めったに部屋から出てこないんだもん。新しい寮母って男の子じゃない。
You see that? From the looks of her, this is what it looked like she wanted to say.
そのやりとりはうちらはるか昔に通過したから。
The girl called Katori glared at Kanako. Man, I'll get these names. I'm the new house mother, Aoi Minase.
ハバネ小鳥です。
Kotori introduced herself to me, but I still didn't feel welcomed.
わわ。
Hi, Hattie.
この子はハト。ってもう知ってるわよね。わあ。
Hattie turned to face me and flapped his wings. He's a smart one.
本当にあなたが新しい寮母さんなの？
Yes, that's right. So you're against it? It'd be understandable if she didn't like the fact that a guy was going to be the house mother of a girl's dorm. Kotori closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Kotori?
昼間のことは忘れて。
Earlier today? Like, which part?
なるべく全部だけど。そうね。強いて言うなら。
She stopped talking and stared at Kanaka, who was standing behind, listening. Kanaka gave up and disappeared down the hallway.
この私がついうっかりポロッと泣いちゃったりしたことよ。
Oh. That incident was quite startling, and I remembered it well. It was rare to see such a girl cry like that right in front of me. She felt embarrassed about it, but it was quite a scene.
忘れた？
Huh? No! Not yet.
忘れろ、今すぐ。
Don't be so silly. Framing it like that actually makes it harder to forget.
あのね、新入りのあなたを知らないだろうけど、私これでも。
Kotori straightened her back. She put a smile on her face, then swept her hair back.
クールビューティーで通ってるの。
What's alule?
ビューティーよ。ちょっと言い間違えただけ。
Oh, I thought it was a new word or something.
もう一回言うから、もう一回やらせて。
As she said that, she tried to straighten her back and put on a smile. That's enough. I get it, all right?
もう意地悪、揚げ足取り、人でらしい。
Kotori was just about used every bear. You could read it. Then turned her wheelchair around. Man, at that point my tongue just decided not to form words. She hurried back down the hallway and went back to her room. Hattie, who was thrown off the wheelchair on the way, chased after her to her room and entered through a small door at the bottom. All I could do was watch. Needless to say, the dainty and delicate impression I'd had of her was completely gone. And the feelings that I'd so quickly developed towards her disappeared with it. But... Cool Alu, huh? When I remembered her sweeping her hair up and saying cool Alu full of confidence, it made me want to laugh. She's a funny one. Things were only just beginning, and everything was already getting a little crazy. I had a feeling things would get even more interesting starting from tomorrow. Oh man, I am liking this so far. This is a nice VN. Extend the little wings, which fly in the sky highly. Wonder what that means. My first job as a house mother. That is, to make breakfast for the boarders. Sure, plus a little extra, right? I felt confident in my cooking. Until recently, I lived with my father, who had to transfer to another region. I helped out every day with the chores. I was in charge of preparing the meals, and it's not like I hated cooking or anything. That's one of the reasons why I accepted the job as house mother. Do the others need breakfast? It seemed like nobody wanted to come into the dining hall. When I did see someone pass by the door, they would sneak past it. Kanako looked towards the hallway just as the oldest girl, Yuka, who had peeked in before, swiftly dashed off. But Kaifu is a co-ed school, right? I see. It seemed that a guy being the house mother of a girl's dorm had its problems after all. There was a reason why I accepted the job as the house mother of Flying Fish Manor. Not long ago, the owner had collapsed. I had heard that the owner, who was also in charge of maintenance, was an elderly lady who'd collapsed a few days before. The owner soon began looking for a replacement, but it was hard to find one. She eventually got help from my mother, who worked in real estate. This was one of the properties that my mom managed, and she was an old acquaintance of the owner from decades ago. She nominated me for this job just as I was planning to come back here. By paper, my mom was the one responsible for this place, but I had to carry out the duties as the house mother. That became the condition for me coming back to this town. As always, she was very crafty, but I wasn't really against the idea, so I accepted. If I'd known it was an all-girls place, of course, I would have refused. The house was old and a bit far from school, but the rent was cheap. Apart from the food and admin expenses, it cost next to nothing. That's why it would have been a big problem for me if I couldn't stay here. Worst case scenario, the boarders wouldn't be able to go to school. So for now, it seemed like everyone had accepted a guy as the house mother. Kanako stacked up the dishes on the counter and licked her lips in satisfaction. She had eaten it all, not even a single grain of rice was left. To have people enjoy my cooking feels pretty good. I felt deeply relieved. I was happy she enjoyed the food. Oh no, I'd better get ready for school. Kotori was at the entrance of the dorm. She was dressed in her uniform and looked like she was about to go to school. Morning, Kotori.
おはよう。
Are you going to school? Do you want to go together?
なんでそうなるの？
Why? Well,
私の足のことを心配してるなら余計なお世話よ。ふんと。
as she said that bluntly, she went out the front door. I don't have any friends at school, so I was just asking. It looked like we'd had a strange misunderstanding. Wearing my new uniform, I made my way to the school. I'm a house mother, but also a student of Kaifu Academy. I mean, this is my real occupation. Today was the first day at my new school. I wasn't really the shy type, but I guess I was kind of nervous. The school I went to before was an all-boys school with a good sports program. Kaifu Academy, the school I'd be going to now, was a co-ed engineering school. The school traditions were quite different too. As I walked along the street to school, I spotted many different groups of students wearing the same uniform. I'd lived in this area 5 years ago. I should have been able to recognize a few people, but no one stood out. I wondered if the ones who chose to go to Kaifu Academy remembered me. Even if I only know one person, it would make a big difference. There was already a weird misunderstanding between Miss Alul and I. I wonder which school Agea and the others go to. They were my childhood friends who I always played with back in the day. There was Agea, Masa, Hotaru, and Tatsuya. Out of that group, Agea and Masa were the same age as me, but it'd been 5 years since we last met, and we hadn't really stayed in touch. We did manage to exchange New Year's cards, though. That reminded me, the corners of the cards included small messages saying what school they were going to. I think. I hadn't told anyone except Tatsuya I was back, and I'd been too busy or just lazy. I wouldn't even know what to do or say if I met them. If it were Agea, she'd yell at me for not contacting her and probably smash my face in. She looked and acted like a real tomboy. When I remembered the past, I put a smirk on my face.
Oh.
At the point where the two streets leading to the school met, a girl wearing a Kaifu uniform stood there looking towards me. The other girls that she was walking to school with seemed puzzled as they asked her what was wrong. As if she couldn't hear what they were saying, she kept her eyes on me the whole time. From what I could make out, she seemed surprised. She's pretty cute. I stopped walking as well and started to stare at the girl. Until a few days ago, I went to an all-boys school. The sight of a girl on the way to school in her uniform, pretty cute too, caused me to get flustered, which was pretty reasonable.
もしかして葵？
Yes. Yes, it is. Suddenly having someone call my name in such a carefree manner made me feel a little nervous. Who was it?
やっぱり葵だ。嘘、本当に？
There, she said my name again, and looked so happy too. Did I know any girls that cute? No, wait, I'd seen her face before. A girl whose eyes sparkled like a child when they smiled. Is that you, Agea?
もしかしなくてもアゲハよ。忘れちゃったの？私の顔。
She asked as she briskly moved closer, bringing her face right up to mine. It was definitely Agea. She changed a lot, but if I just looked at her face, there was no doubt it was her. Is it really the Agea?
しつこいな。他にどのアゲハがいるってのよ。正真正銘、本物の姫木アゲハです。
The other girls who were with her started to gather around me. Agea turned to face them and introduced me.
この子、水瀬葵くん。転校生よ。サッチンは覚えてるよね。
Sachin replied, "No way, Aoi," with a surprised tone. If I remember correctly, we were in the same class back in 4th grade.
私と葵は幼馴染なの。昔ここに住んでたんだけど、転校してっちゃったのよね。
The girls seemed impressed by Agea's explanation and they looked at me with eyes full of expectation. Nice to meet you. I'm Ali Minase. I greeted all the girls in front of me wearing their uniforms with a stern look on my face, trying to hide my embarrassment. Agea laughed and looked as she looked on. I never thought I would introduce myself in the middle of the street on my way to school like this, so I was totally unprepared. I'll say it again. Let me do it again. I could hear Miss Alul's words in the back of my mind.
背伸びたわね。最初誰かわかんなかったわ。
As she spoke, Agea was moving her hands around my head to show the difference in height between us. Our bodies were about to make contact, but she either didn't notice or she didn't really care. I flinched slightly, but the fact that she was so unreserved actually made me feel comfortable.
昔は私といい勝負だったのに、男の子はずるいな。
True. Speaking of which, you've changed too.
そう？
She looked around at herself. Yeah, you always looked like a boy, so I was surprised to see you looking girlish. Those were my honest thoughts, but it sounded weird. I thought she might feel the same, but...
どうだ、いい女になっただろ。
Walk right into that, pal. Agea laughed happily and did a little turn on the spot. The force of her spin made her skirt float gently. Yeah, it's like you're not Agea. Without a thought given, those words just slipped out.
イエーイ、やったね。
Agea was pleased and did high fives with her friends. It reminded me of old times seeing her in high spirits like that. Agea, my best friend during my childhood, hadn't changed in the 5 years that had passed. Her appearance was surprising, though. The lessons on the first day at my new school flew by in the blink of an eye. Of course, there were regular classes like Japanese and social studies, but they were specialist classes as well. I was still in the 2nd year, so there weren't that many, but it looked like the number of specialist classes would increase later on. By the way, this was a 5-year school. That's why when I walked down the hallways... Hey, she looks nice. Coming from an all-boys school, I couldn't resist looking at the girls passing by.
ほほ。早速女子のチェックですか？
No, that's not it! I just thought that they looked really grown up, that's all.
4年か5年の先輩じゃないかな。
At our age, a gap of 3 or 4 years was pretty big. The upper-class students looked mature in comparison.
それにね、うちってこの手の専門学校にしては女子の比率が多いんだよ。
Oh? Why's that? Without thinking, I really took an interest in that, and Agea looked at me as if she wanted to call me a pervert.
校舎の建て替えと同時期に女子生徒の受け入れを強化したんだって。
I'd heard about that before I transferred. They increased the number of courses to accommodate more girls, and even asked famous designers to help design the new building. Thanks to that, the ratio of boys and girls was about 50-50, which became one of the selling points of the school. Coming from an all-boys school, the selling point was the thing that made me want to transfer to this school. Soon enough, lunchtime rolled around. Agea was in the middle of giving me a tour of the school. This really is an amazing school. The school itself was pretty old. Due to it being a special kind of school, of course, it was famous in the local area. Even I knew about it since I was a kid. The school renovation took a few years and was completed just last year. Apparently, it was all thanks to some famous designer. The design and appearance of the school was far from what we would imagine a regular school would be. It felt like I had entered some kind of sci-fi setting.
設備も最高だよ。冷暖房完備、 完全バリアフリーでどんな人も安心して学校生活が送れます。
Full access for students with disabilities. Oh yeah, Miss Katori. Should be somewhere in this school.
でもさ、葵、ほんと変わったよね。
Walking by my side, she was happily murmuring while looking at my face.
顔とか昔はもっと可愛らしかったのに、なんかゴツゴツしちゃってさ。
Same to you.
ひどっ、私ゴツゴツなんてしてないもん。
If she found out that I had thought she was cute before I realized it was her, she wouldn't let me hear the last of it.
あんちゃんから聞いてなかったら気づかなかったわよ。
You heard it from Tatsuya?
そう、葵が帰ってくるってね。
It so happened that I ended up in the same class as Agaya too. She knew when the transfer student was coming, which was why she wasn't that surprised when we met this morning.
あんたね、帰ってくるなら連絡くらいよこしなさいよね。
Sorry. We really looked up to Tatsuya. He was like an older brother to us. We'd been friends with him for such a long time. He wasn't related by blood, but he was just like a real big brother. Agaya glared at me as I tried to laugh it off.
昔の私ならアックスボンバーかましてるところよ。
Whew! I didn't want any part of that. We talked some more, then went back to the classroom. The classrooms weren't exactly normal either. I felt a little uneasy having classes here, but maybe I'd get used to it soon. By the way, there's a girl in the wheelchair who goes to the school, right? Miss Katori Habane, was it? I asked Agahe as we returned to our seats. I didn't ask what grade she was in, but even if it wasn't the same, I thought Agahe might know her.
ああ、うん。
Agaya reacted in an evasive way. It wasn't just Ageha, the others seated nearby also seemed to get awkward. Hmm?
ハバネさんならうちのクラスだよ。今日は来てないみたいだけど。
According to the others, it wasn't just today that she'd missed classes. On top of that, they talked rather harshly about her. That can't be. I mean, I thought about maybe explaining that she'd left the dorm this morning in her uniform, but I held my tongue. It was because of everyone felt uneasy talking about her.
ここんとこずっと休んでるんだ。体調が良くないみたいでさ。
Not feeling well? Yesterday, she went out to Windmill Hill, and then later she was chasing that duck around the halls of the dormitory. And this morning, she left wearing her uniform. Is she skipping school? However, more worrying than that was Katori was up to. It was how the others reacted about it. Even Agaya looked like she felt uneasy talking about her. But I don't really know what that situation is, so I can't really say anything.
おい、山本。英語の辞書を貸してくんね。
Just as it was starting to get awkward, an optimistic voice called out. From the entrance of the classroom, a carefree-looking guy poked his head in and started speaking to a boy in our class.
お、ちょうどいいところに。おーい、マーボー。
だよ、アゲハ。なんか用か？
Agaya called over some guy named Masa.
お前と仲良くしてっとエリちゃんのご機嫌が悪くなんだよ。あれってやっぱジェラシーってやつだよな。
いいからこっち来い。
お、誰これ？転校生？アゲハは見た目結構可愛いけど中身男だから気をつけろ。
Agaya and I both looked blankly at him for a moment.
なんだよ。
Long time no see, Masa.
は？
Masa gave me a puzzled look. It's me. Have you forgotten me?
俺だよって。え？お前、葵？
I looked at Agaya and she
にや。
wanted to surprise him, so she intentionally didn't tell him. This carefree-looking guy was Masatsugu Sasaki. He was our childhood friend.
なんで葵がここにいるんだよ。てか転校生って。
あんた驚きすぎ。
そりゃ驚くって。
You seem well, Masa. You've grown taller. Matsasugi used to be really small, but now he was about the same size as me. It wasn't quite like the change in Ageha, but in the 5 years it looked like he'd grown to about twice the size.
お前こそ。
We bumped fists with each other. It'd been a while since I did that with him.
本当に葵なのかよ。
Yeah, I'm back, man.
おかえり。葵。
Hey, he is way too excited. This time he gave me a full-on hug. Hey, cut it out!
熱い友情ってやつだね。
We were the only ones who thought so, whereas all the girls around us were a bit taken back.
会いたかったよ。
What?
じゃねえよこの裏切り者。
Masa suddenly backed off and thrust his finger at me. What?
いきなり出て行ったと思ったらろくに連絡もよこさねえで。俺やアゲハがどんな思いでいたかてめえ知ってるのか。
いやいや、勝手に私を巻き添えにするな。
そのくせよくものこのこと。
I'm sorry, but it's not my fault that I had to move away. If you want to complain, go talk to my dad. I thought about writing a letter, but it felt kind of embarrassing. As a matter of fact, both of us really didn't keep in contact with each other.
この裏切り者め、俺は絶対許さないかんな。お前なんか嫌いだ。バカバカ。
After saying that, he stormed out of the classroom, forgetting about the dictionary he was supposed to borrow.
子供かい。
It wasn't just us. Everyone in the classroom was shocked.
こうなると思って教えてなかったんだけどね。知ってたらあいつ最初から全開であんな感じだっただろうから。
You made the correct decision, Agea. Even so, he did seem really upset about it.
あいつ最近彼女ができて調子づいてんのよ。小さい頃は「青いアゲハ待ってよ」とか言って私ら大丈夫すぐ元通りになるって。だってあいつ葵大好きっ子だもん。
Don't say it like that. It sounds weird.
そう可愛いじゃない。
While we carried on talking, the bell to mark the end of lunchtime sounded. Everyone put away their lunchboxes and got ready for the next class. Agea headed back to her seat, but she stopped halfway and came back. What's up? Agea seemed concerned about those around us and lowered her voice.
なんでハバネさんのこと知ってるのかなって。
Well, the truth is, my mom asked me to be the house mother of a dorm. I lowered my voice as well.
寮の管理人？
And Katori's actually staying there.
そうなんだ。
My mom asked me to take good care of her. Even if she hadn't, I'd be worried about her anyway. Agea thought about what I had said. Her expression didn't look too bright.
このまま来なくなるんじゃないかってみんな心配してる。あんまり学校が楽しくないみたいなんだ。
She couldn't believe that someone couldn't enjoy school. You seem to like it.
私？もちろんだよ。だって楽しいじゃない学校。
I guess. It was still my first day at the new school, but I was liking it.
そっか。
Agea mumbled something and went back to her seat. After school, I was alone and wandering around the school. This was so that I could take a look at some of the club activities. Film club, theater club, there's even an RC club. This was, after all, a technical school. Looking at the schoolyard from my window, I saw sports clubs practicing in the heat outside. Compared to my school, things are pretty calm. The sports clubs at the school I used to go to were taken so seriously. The sight of training before a match was one of grueling harshness. Wait, my school? I was a student of this school now. I guess I'll go take a look. I went down to next to the schoolyard to get a closer look at the sports clubs practicing. Before long, I started to feel a little down, so I left. The doctor said if it's light exercise, it shouldn't be a problem. I stamped down strongly with my right foot and didn't feel any discomfort. I saw the baseball team coming back from the running course.
あ、水瀬。お前、水瀬だろ?
The one calling me was an old friend. Taguchi, it's been a long time.
お前、帰ってきたんだってな。もう部活は決めたのか?
No, not yet. I'm just looking around for now.
野球部入れよ。お前ならすぐレギュラーなれるぞ。
When I was a kid, I often played baseball at the park. I recognized my teammates and players from the other team at the time who were now on the baseball team. I'll think about it. As I casually responded, the baseball team headed back to the schoolyard. If we're talking about exercise, baseball and similar sports should be fine. I didn't feel like going back to the schoolyard, so I entered the path leading to the back of the school. I spent a whole day walking around the back of the school. I got to the school garden, which obviously didn't look like it was taken care of. There was a garage in that empty space. Hello, I'm coming in. It looked like no one was inside, but I thought I should still say something to let them know, just in case. Is this place used for club activities too? Or was it used for classes? I didn't know what they used it for, but there were many tools and parts crammed onto the shelves that covered the walls. In the center of the space, there was a huge object covered with a sheet. It's that glider. The bitter feelings that had washed over me like a wave while watching the sports club strangely subsided in this place. The tools and the dimly lit garage must have reminded me of times when I would tinker with my bicycle. What's this used for? I concealed the sound of my footsteps as I snuck inside the garage. It's pretty spacious. There's a tea set here too. There was no doubt about it. Someone was using this place. I get a strange sense of activity. I guess it must be one of the clubs. Whoa! There was someone here. I was so surprised it felt like my heart was going to jump out. It seemed like they hadn't noticed me. The girl was staring at a blueprint of the drawing board. I'm sorry for letting myself in here. I'll be leaving soon. Maybe she didn't hear me. I could see that she was concentrating on the blueprint. I didn't know what to do, so I just stood there and watched her. She was really beautiful now that I was able to get a closer look. Hey, why am I staring at her? I looked away. There was still no sign she had noticed me at all. She looks quite mature. Maybe she's a 5th-year student? She really is beautiful. Kotori was pretty too, but this person had her own distinctive charm. Suddenly, she stood up. I'm sorry! Without thinking, I averted my eyes and apologized, but she walked right past me and grabbed a book from the shelf.
やっぱりそうか。
After finding what she was looking for in the book, she walked back to her seat. In good spirits, she began swiftly drawing the blueprints. You could tell she was enjoying her work. The serious look that she had on her face turned into a smile. She smiles like a kid. As she gazed at the blueprint, I noticed that her eyes had a sort of innocent-like purity to them. Those eyes were like a child who believed the whole world was a wonderful place full of hope.
これでよしっと。
Her hand stopped. I didn't miss that. Excuse me? She finally noticed me.
いや、こんにちは。
Even though I had unexpectedly appeared like that, she didn't show any signs of caution. She kept the smile as she greeted me. Hi. I wanted to say something to her, but I couldn't think of what.
どうかしたのかい？
I'm sorry that I just let myself in here. I just transferred here today, but I got lost while checking out the club activities. I got a little carried away and said more than I needed to, but she didn't seem interested at all. She gave me a puzzled look.
勝手に入ってくれて構わないぞ。
She said it in a blunt way, but at least she didn't seem angry. She has a strange way of speaking. Well, I'm sorry. I better go. As I was about to leave, a huge sound echoed through the garage. What's that noise?
ああ、お腹すいた。
That happens. With a lack of energy in her voice, the beautiful girl before me held her stomach and fell down onto the drawing board. Was that the sound of your stomach just now? Since we were inside the garage, sound echoed. What I had heard sounded like the growl of a monster.
空腹だったことを体が思い出してしまったらしいぞ。
She tried to get up, but because of her lack of energy, slumped back down on the drawing board. Would you like to have this? I took some bread out of my bag. It was something I brought just in case lunch wasn't enough for me. Her eyes shone as if she were an explorer who had discovered treasure in a cave.
いいのか？
Go ahead.
ありがとう。
She opened the wrapper and started to munch on it. She was getting crumbs everywhere, but it really looked like she was happy in the moment.
おいしい、おいしい。久しぶりのカロリー摂取だ。
Could that be because she's poor? The fact that she was so ecstatic over something like melon bread actually made me quite worried. Worries aside, she devoured the bread that I gave her.
おいしかった。
She murmured, looking happy as can be. She looked like she was mulling over the taste of the bread in her brain.
脳に糖分が染み渡る。
She turned right back to the drawing board. Then she started drawing up the blueprints again with incredible energy. From the serious look on her face, it seemed that she had already forgotten about me. She's weird. Not just a little, but very weird. Well, okay, I'll be off now. Perhaps she didn't hear me. I put the wrapper that she had left behind in my pocket and turned to leave. That was really weird. A little. A lot. Well then, maybe I should head back. By the time I had finished watching the various clubs, the sun was starting to go down.
あ、いた。
Agea was at the school gates. Agea looked towards me and pointed the cell phone she was holding at me.
まだ残ってたら一緒に帰ろうと思って何回もかけたのにちっとも出ないんだもん。
I told Agea that I'd been checking out the club activities before going home.
着信履歴見てみ。
Huh? I left my cell phone back at the dorm.
はあ？なんで？それじゃ携帯の意味ないじゃん。
Doesn't it say in the school rules that you can't bring cell phones to school?
そうだけど、そんなの守ってる子いないよ。
As long as you didn't get caught. I wasn't all too worried about the school rules. It was just too bothersome to carry a cell phone around with me.
せっかく番号教えてもらったのに、これじゃ意味なしだよ。
Hmm? How do you know my number? 5 years ago when I left Kazagara, I was still just a kid, so I didn't have a cell phone.
さっきあんちゃんから聞いた。メアドも送ってもらったから、これからバンバンメールするね。
What? Don't bother, it's too much hassle. Texting was a real pain, so I didn't really like it. But it looked like Agea wasn't listening and started walking on ahead.
じゃあ帰ろっか。どうだった？転校初日は。
I guess it was pretty good. It was different to the sports schools or regular schools and had a special kind of atmosphere. Everyone looks like they came here to hang out and have fun.
それは言えてるかも。みんなやりたいことがあって来てるからね。
Things they want to do.
入りたい部活は見つかった？
I don't know. There were a few that seemed interesting, though.
うち運動部はあんまり盛んじゃないから、葵には物足りないかもね。
What do you do, Agea?
私はロボット部。ロボット作ってコンクールに出るの。
Robots? That sounds interesting.
葵だったらいつでも大歓迎だよ。
Yeah, I'll think about it.
それじゃあ、私こっちだから。
Huh? Isn't your place around here?
ああ、引っ越したんだ。風見商店街が再開発でなくなったのを知らないの？
No way! Seriously?
でっかいショッピングモールができたの。うちの店もそこに入ってるんだよ。また休みの日にでも案内してあげるよ。じゃ、また明日ね。
Hey.
何？
Thanks for everything today.
いいっていいって。今度パフェでもおごってくれたらそれで十分。
No, I mean, that you stayed as a friend.
ああ、うん。
That was a big help.
私も葵が見た目以外変わってなくてよかった。あ、見た目もそんなに悪くないよ。極秘情報をリークするとね、今日だけでいろんな子から葵の携帯番号を聞かれたし。
Seriously?
訂正。スケベになったね、葵。
So what? I didn't have that kind of thing at an all-boys school.
まあ健全な男子である証拠か。しばらく会わないうちに大人になっちゃったんだね。
Agea looked happy as she said that. So have you. To be honest, I thought she would have grown up to be more rough and tomboyish.
だね。
Hmm? Agea started smiling softly. Looking at that innocent smile reminded me of how Agea was when she was still just a kid.
おかえりなさい、葵。
Yeah.
また明日からよろしくな、アイポー。
Ow! She gave me a great big slap on the back.
じゃあね
Agea gave me a big wave and turned the corner. Jeez, that hurt. She might have gotten a little cuter, but she hadn't really changed on the inside. Welcome back, huh? Her attitude hadn't really changed from before, and that made me feel like I was home. After Agea left, I went shopping for groceries on the way home. It's going to be hot again tomorrow, so I should make something to give them energy. I was already thinking of what to cook. Oh no, I forgot to buy milk. Luckily, there was a convenience store right in front of me. It used to be a tobacco stand. It's a little expensive, but I guess I don't have a choice. As I was thinking to myself, the doors opened and the self-proclaimed cool allure came out of the shop. She had a big, bag on her lap and a smile on her face. She didn't notice me and went back in the direction of the dormitory. That girl. What was she doing? I gave up on buying the milk and followed Katori. When she got back to the dormitory, Katori opened the front door just slightly.
ハト
She called Hattie from the door and spoke to him about something. She was being sneaky and acting awfully suspicious.
あいつがいないか見てきて。ほら、あいつよ。あの意地悪な男子。
Mean? Is she talking about me? I mean, it was a girl's dorm and I was a guy, so... Anyway, I didn't remember being mean to her. I had no idea why, but she was sneaking around to avoid me. If that's what you're going to do. I headed for the back entrance of the dorm. I hid in the kitchen for the time being.
わわ
Shh! Just tell her that I'm not here.
わ
I doubt that he got the message. He left the dining hall and headed for the entrance. While I was waiting, I put the food in the fridge. After a little while...
いないみたいね。よしよし。
When Katori came into the dining hall, she went straight for the cupboard and took out a spoon. She got to the table and stayed seated in her wheelchair. She put the shopping bag from the convenience store on the table. Inside was... Hagen Dutch? That's right, she had snuck in some top-quality ice cream. Not only that, but it was family size. Those containers cost an arm and a leg. With a big spoon in her hand, she opened the lid.
やるわよ。ついに。ガクン。
Katori held a spoon over smooth surface and drove it into the Hagen Dutch. She scooped up a big portion and threw it into her mouth.
うーい。幸せ。
She brought her hand to her cheek as though she was flooded with happiness from the bottom of her heart. What is she doing? It felt ridiculous to hide and watch her. Without knowing I was watching, Katori continued to greedily dig into the ice cream. Come on. Even if it was the cheap ice cream, you'd savor it more.
もやもや。
With her mouth full of ice cream, she started to hold her temple.
大丈夫。ちょっと気どきただけ。
To be able to get a brain freeze from eating too much Hagen Dutch is the very height of luxury. During this little pause, Katori opened a notebook. There was something written there. I snuck up a little closer.
わわ。
Shh! With an expression full of happiness. Eat as much Hagen Dutch as I want. She wrote done next to it. Oh.
ミッションコンプリート。
Oh, I hope that doesn't mean what I think it means. Oh, that would break my heart. It seemed to be some sort of list. Things I want to do. That was the title, and there were bullet points below. Pet the big dog in the neighborhood. It looks scary, but it might be friendly. I'd also like to ride around on its back. Fill the bath with water and swim in it like a pool. Pie throwing. And so on. Among theirs was... Go and see Windmill Hill. With done written next to it. What is this? Spoke out loud, you idiot! Whoa! Katori's scream pierced right through my ears.
何？なんであなたがここにいるの？
I was here before you were!
だって、そうなはず。
Her mouth was open in shock as she looked at Hattie. What do you expect from a duck? Even if he was able to completely grasp what his responsibility was, there was no way he could convey the message. Katori seemed ashamed and looked away. I'm sorry I scared you. You were sneaking around, so I wondered what you were doing. I didn't mean to spoil her alone time.
やっぱり意地悪だ。
I went back to the kitchen to get ready for dinner. Katori continued to eat her ice cream with disappointment. Why weren't you at school?
風邪ひいてるの。キョキョ。
Obviously, that was a lie. Would someone with a cold want to eat all that ice cream? I'm the house mother, you know. I have to make sure the students are doing all right.
私はあなたを寮母と認めた覚えはないわ。だいたい男なのに寮母っておかしいじゃない。
She went to the trouble of turning around so that she could point at me. If you want to call me house father, then that's fine by me. Katori turned back around and went back to enjoying her ice cream. And if you weren't at school, then where were you? I softened my tone a little.
あなたには関係ない。
Did you go back to Windmill Hill? She ignored me and kept eating her ice cream. It's got something to do with me.
だから私はあなたを寮母だなんて。
I don't mean that. Yesterday, if I hadn't been passing by, where would you be right now? And if you're not careful in a place like that, then maybe nobody would have come. If you couldn't move your wheelchair, what would you have done by yourself?
それは。
Do you still think it's got nothing to do with me? I wasn't accusing her of anything. That's why I tried to speak as gently as possible. However, I wanted her to know how serious I was.
だからお礼言ったでしょ。この私がお礼言うなんてすごく珍しいことなんだから。本当よ。オオサンショウウオくらい希少なのよ。逆に感謝してほしいくらいだわ。
Stop bragging about it. If you think that people would be happy because it's so rare, you're severely mistaken. Katori seemed daunted by this sound argument and put down her spoon.
でも私こんなだから何もできない。アイス食べる？高いやつよ。
I don't. I sounded a little mean, so, Katori. She suddenly got all teary-eyed. Her cheeks were quivering as she desperately tried to hold back the tears. Hey, I'm sorry. I was joking. Don't make that face.
別に普通だもん。
That's right. See, you're fine.
ガーガー。
Hattie quacked as though he was trying to cheer Katori up. I'm not asking for appreciation. It's just that if you go out without telling anyone where you're going, it's kind of dangerous, you know? She wiped the corner of her eye a little with her finger.
わかるけどわかりたくない。わかるわけにはいかないの。
She was very stubborn about it. She put the spoon down and went to leave the dining hall. Where are you going?
顔洗ってくるの。アイスで口の周りがベタベタするから。
She closed the notebook and put it on her lap. Then a piece of paper fell from it. You dropped something. Katori looked as though she hadn't heard and left the dining hall. Hattie went after her. As the sound of the wheelchair grew further away, I let out a big sigh. Maybe I came off a bit harsh. It's just that I really was worried about her. I didn't know anything about her, so perhaps I was just being a pest. Wait. She was still wearing her uniform. She was wearing regular clothes yesterday when she was at Windmill Hill. Could it be that she was actually planning on going to school? That could have been it, right? With that thought, my mood lightened and I went to pick up the paper she had dropped. Huh? For a moment, I couldn't believe my eyes. It was a notice for withdrawal from school. Can I... I'm trying to hit the save button. Trying to figure out how to do that. Can I just, save right now? There we go. Yeah, there we go. That seems like a good place to call it. I've been going for an hour and a half. There's been a lot of characters that we've met, a lot of stuff that's happened. I'm really looking forward to seeing how the rest of this game goes, and we'll see if EAS wants for me to continue playing this game at some point. So, yeah, okay, save is good. Okay. So there we go. That is the beginning of If My Heart Had Wings. Again, this will be getting a physical release through Play Asia. So if you want a copy of this, then make sure you go ahead and pre-order it from Play Asia when it goes up for pre-order. I know I'm going to. This is a very fascinating VN, and it's really gotten my attention. I want to know more about these characters, more about what's going on. So, yeah, hopefully I get to play this again sometime in the future. And regardless, I'll be back on Friday to play something for you guys, so be on the lookout for that. Until then, on behalf of East Asia Soft, I have been Skul. Have yourselves a great day, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye, everyone.